Hey everybody, welcome to the Fired Up with CJ show. I'm CJ Liu, and today we have Dr. Susan Campbell talking about this book, The 5 Minute Relationship Repair. And she is going to teach us and role model how to quickly heal upsets, deepen intimacy, and use differences to strengthen love. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start off the interview by me arguing with Susan, which is unusual way to start an interview. But we're going to take one of the things I did some research before on what are the typical arguments that couples have. And one of the typical arguments is arguing about child rearing, and people have different ideas on what is appropriate child rearing. So Susan and I are going to demonstrate potentially. I'm going to be a wife, and you will be my partner. And then what I'd like us to do is we're going to show you what typically happens, and then we're going to talk about some kind of what happens on the brain level and what's happening in the background, emotionally, neurologically, neuroscience, and then we're also going to look at the end at using this process, the 5 minute relationship repair, and how we can be armed with a good dialogue to stop all of the triggering that typically happens during an argument. So, are you ready to fight?
Okay. So let's call it a male and female, and I'm the breadwinner, and
Okay.
you're mostly home with the kids, so
Okay.
that each person in the family has a different interest, a different role to play.
Okay.
You're closer to the kids, I'm closer to the money situation.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
No,
So
it's
that's
kind of
that's who you are. That's
no
your
matter
role.
what gender the couples are, a lot
Yeah.
of times one person's a little more on top of the whole
Right.
money management thing.
Okay. Okay. All right. So that's our role. All right. So I'm coming down into the workroom, the study,
Hmm.
and I see our kids. They're on the computer again, and they're going past their time limits that we've established as a family. Okay, and you're also at the computer.
Yeah.
Um, you know, also you don't have limits, but you're at the computer too.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm coming in.
So you get mad at
I,
me.
I'm going to get mad at the kids, and then I'm going to get mad at you. Okay, ready?
Yeah. Why don't you just focus on me?
Okay, all right.
Focus
So I
on
see the
getting back
kids,
to me
and yeah,
first.
okay. So so first I'm going to yell at the kids. What
Oh,
the heck are you guys still doing on the computer? Why are you on the computer? And then you roll, and you're like, whatever, you do whatever.
okay.
What's that all about? What are you rolling your eyes about? You're just as bad.
I'm trying to get some work done here to support this family.
But aren't you all like you're always on the computer? No wonder the kids are on the computer because you're there setting the worst role model. I'm here trying to teach them discipline, structure, and you're out there violating the
You
structure we agreed
you
to.
have nothing to say that's supportive of me. This is the same fight we have all the time. If it's not criticizing me about the computer, it's criticizing me about something else. Jeez.
Well, it's because you're never there for me. Like here, we agreed, just like we've done all the other things that we've agreed on, and here you are violating the thing that we agreed to already. I
What
mean,
was the
you're the worst
agreement?
role model. What are
I
you teaching the kid? What are you teaching the boys about being a man?
I agree. I agreed to be on the computer less, but we didn't have any specific time limit. And I need to get this workout tomorrow. You don't realize how hard I work to support this family.
Oh, that again? Oh, it's all about. I mean, I used to work too.
Yes. Yeah, you used to work, but now it's all on me. You never appreciate what I do.
Well, you never appreciate what I'm doing either.
You
Okay.
stop there.
Screw you! And then I run off.
That's a good one. That's a good closing.
Okay. I hate you! Or whatever it is. Man, that was heated, wasn't it?
I loved it.
My energy is just, it's pumped up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay, that's a danger of fighting is that it is kind of exciting.
And this was fictitious, right? And my energy is all.
Yeah, yeah. But of course, you and I have both been on one side or the other of
Yes.
not feeling appreciated, of trying to get a job done when your partner has a different need for you.
Mm-hmm.
These are common differences, right?
Yeah.
Most
Yeah.
of our audience can relate to one side or the other, but particularly to not being appreciated.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm feeling all revved up. What is happening? And what I loved about your book, The 5 Minute Relationship Repair, is you explained, like, what happens? Why do we get so revved up?
Yeah, and notice that we said some things, some mean things to each other that later on we may regret.
Right.
And so let's dissect what just happened and talk
Okay.
about what is happening in your nervous system and my nervous system.
Okay.
Okay, so your nervous system, as soon as you see the kids, your precious babies that you're trying to develop into whole human
Right.
beings,
Yes.
uh, that triggers you.
Right.
And of course, you see me there, and you say something about not feeling supported in trying to develop the kids in the way we've agreed. So
Right.
that feeling of not being supported,
Right.
uh, this is a trigger for a lot of people. It's like my needs don't count. So the first thing that happens in the nervous system is something very automatic. It's you see something, you see a stimulus,
Yeah.
and you saw the kids and you started there, but you got really revved up when you see your mate not being a good role model.
Right.
And first, what happens in your nervous system is you've immediately gone into a fear state because one of your core needs seems to not be being met.
Right.
Core need to feel connected and supported by the one you depend on. See, this is one of the key triggering events. That's why they happen so much in couple relationships and not so much with your friends.
Right.
Because when you depend on somebody, when you care about somebody a lot, then it's more apt to bring up old childhood gaps in your development. Like if you weren't held and supported enough as a child, and this was a core need that didn't get met, maybe you weren't paid attention to, and most of us have this to some degree.
Yeah.
Weren't paid attention to as much as we needed to be.
Yeah.
Parents are busy.
Yeah, I was a latchkey kid.
Yeah, and my parents had 4 kids, so some of us get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
Great parents, but who do it all?
Right.
So we're left. The person. Let's call you Jane and John. Just
okay.
for
I'm
the
Jane
moment, instead of you and me for now. So Jane has a childhood where she didn't feel supported, and so when she sees her husband on the computer, immediately her nervous system does something where it's basically just an automatic danger.
Right.
Whenever our nervous system detects something that appears to be unfriendly or unsupportive to our basic needs,
right,
it's an association to an old lack that was there in your childhood.
Right.
And it's sort of like Pavlov's dog.
Right.
You see something similar, and your nervous system goes into that same routine.
Right.
Going into fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah, my amygdala gets triggered. I see something. It's like the Pavlovian thing. Boom, my amygdala goes fear, 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 fear. Be careful.
And that's your amygdala part of your lower brain, also called the reptilian brain.
Right.
And it's the part of the
more
brain
primitive.
That's right. It's a part of the brain that has a survival alarm system.
Right.
In it. So it's wired to detect danger, because in the old days when humans were in the jungle and having to fight off predators, we really needed to have our nervous systems biased toward danger. Otherwise, we'd be eaten by a tiger.
Right.
It really was a jungle.
Yeah, so poor Jane has this thing going, danger, danger, your life is in danger, and she has to justify it. It's because I'm not being supported, or I'm not being...
And your mind goes into a story. So first, your nervous system goes into danger.
Right.
I want to take the blame out of this, because it's, everybody has this kind of wiring.
Yeah. Can't help it.
Even secure, we do make a distinction in the book between securely attached couples and people and insecurely attached. So, of course, the more your core needs were met as a child, you're going to be more securely attached, more able to quickly reassure yourself, okay, that's not really dangerous. But our nervous systems are so wired for danger, and it's like normal and healthy. It's just part of our early evolution.
Right.
But that part of the brain isn't very good at communicating or
Right.
hearing the other person's point of view.
Right.
So when that part of the brain takes over, no use trying to communicate.
Right. It's a lost
You
cause.
saw what happened.
Yeah.
She gives me that harsh energy. I
Right.
give it right back to her. Or sometimes people shut down.
Yeah, that was a fight versus fight, right? I
Yeah, we
responded
have
in a
two fighters.
fight, aggressive. You got aggressive. What does
Yeah,
it look? What does it look like if someone were to shut down? If I said, if I went and said, "Well, what are you doing? You're an awful role model." What would the shutdown?
I would try to talk reasonably to you at
Okay,
first. I might say, "Oh, honey, it's nothing to worry about.
right,
You're getting upset for nothing."
right, which just
Then
makes
you
me even
and
more
then
mad.
even more upset. So and you'd come
Yeah,
back at me.
yeah.
And finally, I would just leave my computer, get up, and walk out.
Okay, that's flight.
No,
That's a
that's
freeze or
fine.
flight. That's
That's
flight.
fine.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And what's freeze look like?
Freeze would be like ignoring the person completely and
Oh,
hoping it'll go away and continuing to work on my computer.
I'm camouflaged over
Yeah,
here. Maybe she won't
yeah,
see me if I continue typing.
yeah. And it's really all unconscious. You don't even say to yourself,
Oh,
maybe she won't see me. You're just like in a freeze state, like deer in the headlights.
yeah,
So, if you grew up in a home where there was a lot of anger
yeah,
and aggression, sometimes your nervous system is super sensitive to
yeah.
anger coming at you. So people need to understand that different core needs that weren't met in childhood, like the core need for feeling protected from aggression.
Right.
Maybe if I'm the freeze type, maybe I never felt protected. So I go around with this big bubble of protection around me
Right.
as an adult.
Right.
And it's, hard to break through that.
Yes. Well, because I'm hearing two things. One is that I'm in this case a person who's upset has my own fight, flight, or flee
Hmm.
response, right? And that based on my own childhood
Yeah.
experiences,
Hmm.
and you also have your own set of fight, flight, or fight
Hmm.
responses based or
Hmm.
flight,
Freeze.
freeze, or yeah. Or fight experiences based on your own family experiences. And I assume like hardwiring too, like we have certain personalities that make us
Yeah.
more or less disposed. So we have these two things that we're trying to coordinate. Both of us are in a state of
Yeah.
non-rationality, right? Like
Yeah.
we're not in the rational
Bring
brain.
each other.
Right.
We're if we keep talking after we're both triggered, and it was obvious that we were both triggered,
Yeah.
because when you're triggered, you're either raising your voice or you're shutting down or your heart's starting to beat fast or your
Right.
hands are getting clammy. Or another thing to tell when somebody's triggered is when you start making judgmental thoughts about the other
Yeah.
person, like, oh, he never does what I
Yeah,
ask him to do.
you're an awful role model.
Yeah,
I'm like sitting there slamming you with
right.
verbal abuse.
And you never appreciate me.
Right.
Start throwing judgments at somebody. Stop and feel your feelings, notice your body sensations, and that's the time to call for a pause. We call it
Hmm.
a pause.
Hmm.
If there's ever one of these fights going on, you don't want to let it go on too long. You
Right.
want to learn to have a pause agreement between the couple and agree to pause. And then that gives you a chance to calm yourself, to
Right.
reassure yourself that, oh, that's just my nervous system acting up. That's just
Right.
old core fear from childhood acting up. And that's not what's real between us here and now. Yes, we
Hmm.
have a difference.
Yeah. So it's a
This
timeout.
is
The
a
pause
threat.
is a
We can
timeout
talk
for us.
reasonably about this difference. If,
Yeah.
if
So
we
that's
pause long enough to get our higher brains back online.
now here's a question after reading your book, 5 Minute Relationship Repair. So you do talk about the pause, which is kind of a timeout for you to kind of cool
Yeah.
down, get rational, get that part of your brain that's the reptilian part that's in a state of panic or kicking off the survival instinct to kind of calm down. Now here's the thing that I notice is that some people have different periods that they want to calm down. I mean, I'm usually calm, like spirit off, and
Mm.
then probably 10 minutes later I'm calm.
Yeah.
Now, for some people, like my husband, he may not get mad until the next day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how do you reconcile these differences when you have one partner that gets calmed down in 10 minutes and wants to go
Mm-hmm.
in and talk about it, and the other partner,
Yeah.
it's like, I can't talk about it for another 2 days.
Yeah. Well, you when you are agreeing on your pause agreement, because you
Hmm.
do this when your higher brains are both online.
Right.
You don't make this, you don't have this conversation when you're triggered. So when you agree on your pause
And a
agreement,
pause agreement is, tell us a little bit about that because
the
folks may
pause
not think.
agreement is you sit down and you go, these are the early warning signs when
Right.
I'm triggered. These are the early warning signs when you're triggered.
Hmm.
Like your heartbeat goes faster, you start yelling. Okay.
Right.
And for me, I start shutting down maybe and clamming up. So
Right.
those are, let's say
Right.
those are some early warning signs.
Right.
And so we agree that whenever either of us notice any of those signs that either of us are triggered, we call for a pause and we make up a word. Okay, what should be our pause agreement? Maybe it's time out,
Yeah.
maybe
One of
it's stop,
these. Yeah.
maybe it's a, yeah, maybe it's that, maybe it's a just the word pause. And we talk about the fact that you seem to be able to get over it in 10 minutes and I take 24 hours for those
Right.
chemicals, because it really is those chemicals. It's like you got a bad drug in your system.
Right.
So
Yes.
it
Absolutely.
takes a while for some of us for those chemicals to go out of our body and for us to really be able to calm.
Hmm.
Although in the book we have several calming tools
Hmm.
based on meditation, based on sensory awareness practices, things that help you ground yourself, like based on Aikido,
Right.
martial arts. There's a lot that we've learned over the years in how to calm down a
Yeah.
human nerve.
There's a whole chapter that you have on that in
Yeah,
the
we have
book.
a whole chapter on that. And so we guide you through some various calming practices and ask you to pick the one that works best for you.
Hmm.
So for me, the best thing is just sitting quietly, feeling the chair supporting me and focusing on my breathing.
Hmm.
And I actually sometimes give myself a little hug,
Oh, sweet.
I do, because I know that I'm hurt.
Yeah.
I've done this work enough to know that there's like a
Yeah.
hurt little kid deep down
Yeah.
there. So during my pause and calming period, and so you can learn to shorten that calming down period, but still, let's say
Yeah.
one still takes half a day and the other one takes 10 minutes.
Right.
So you build that in. You say, let's pause, and since you're the one who usually takes longer to come back online with your higher brain functions,
Right.
let me know when you're ready to sit down together and repair this.
Mm.
And
See,
we're
my
going
fear would
to
be
repair.
24 hours later, it's all over, and then you don't even talk about it.
Well, what you're supposed to do, I mean, what we guide people how to do, and hopefully through doing these practices that are in the book, they get motivated to want to, as soon as you have your calm down time, you pull out your little trusty repair handout here that I've
Yes.
got one here. They're in the book, but you can order them on our website and
Hmm.
print them out. And
Hmm.
so I pull out my repair statement, I fill in the blanks, and I say, I'd like to repair what happened when I came in and yelled at you when you were on the computer.
Okay. All right.
And
So this would be, so let's
so,
so let's walk
yeah,
it through in that particular case. So in this case, we're going to use the system in your book, the 5 minute relationship repair, which includes a series of scripts. So that, because oftentimes it's really hard to even know how to dialogue with your
yeah,
partner. So until you know how to do that, it's really helpful to have these scripts to kind of structure in a logical way in which the person's going to receive it in the right way too.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay, so let's hear your script. So you're going to take what I just spewed at you, and as a wife, this could be a different way. This may be the thing that I do to repair after
Yeah,
calling you a bad role model and yelling at you and
yeah.
screaming at you and
Okay,
telling you your money doesn't matter and all these things.
yeah. So in our normal trying to repair, what most people do when they try to repair is they say, well, you didn't really understand what I meant. I meant this. And they go into a lot of
Oh
explaining,
yeah.
and it gets you right back into the fight.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
not what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah. You
that's,
never understand me. Like this is not in a good
yeah,
place.
it's not unusual for that.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's why we ask people to follow this script for quite a number of months until you really get the hang of it. Because if you do your normal automatic thing, it won't be as authentic and real and vulnerable.
Mm,
We're always going for the deepest level of truth between couples.
mm-hmm,
Say the truth hurts. No, the deepest level of truth is usually quite vulnerable.
mm,
Need to feel I matter to you. I need to feel accepted by you.
Right.
Even though I
It's not
may,
I need you to do the chores. It's really like, why do you need to do the chores? And you
yeah,
go
it's
down the
underneath.
elevator
It's
shaft. Yeah.
not I need,
Right.
need to control you.
Right.
That, no. We talk about the difference between controlling and relating in
Mm-hmm.
terms of communication.
Yeah.
Anything where I'm telling you what you need to do
Yeah.
is going to
Yeah.
not be the deepest level of
Yeah.
truth.
I could say if I went back in the script as I need you to be more responsible.
No,
That's
another button pusher.
right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that'll happen.
Yeah.
And people will slip into their old patterns when they're first learning this, but just keep following the script. So I'll give you an example.
Yeah, and I love that what you said earlier when I talked to you earlier before we began the show. You said, a couple may actually write out a blank piece of paper and literally put themselves, or each of them could actually put themselves through the process and fill out the script, which think is a fabulous idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even if single people can read this book and look at a past relationship and practice these tools,
yeah,
you'll
yeah,
be ready and ready to use it with your mother-in-law, your kids, because you can use this repair with children too.
right,
Because
right.
parents and children scare each
Oh,
other and
absolutely.
get into those
Yeah,
cycles of power struggles.
yeah.
I've been using it with families lately.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's for,
Parents
yeah,
helping
it's
parents.
just this is for anyone that you have a communication. So the first is I got triggered when.
Is. Yeah, I'd like to repair. Well, the way there's a version that I've got here
Okay.
which says I'd like to repair what happened when I started yelling at you about always being on the computer.
Okay, I'm going to be the husband and listen to this.
And
Okay.
so I now see that when I spoke to you in that harsh voice and called you, irresponsible or a bad role model, I guess that was it, I was triggered. When I saw you there on the computer, a story came up in my mind that he's not supporting me, that my needs don't matter to him. So that we call your reactive story. It's
Okay, and so as a husband, here's what I'm going to. This is what I would feel like. I do support you. I don't know why you even think that. So like, I'm not even allowing you to finish a script, which I can see happening.
Well, there has to be an agreement that once you get into the repair process, because when I'm saying a story came up in my mind, you will have, before you start doing this, you will have gone through a number of exercises to help you see that when your partner says a story came up in my mind that I'm not important to you, or my needs don't matter, or I'm not being supported. When you've gone through this exercise to discover, okay, that's what her story is.
Okay, so you have
You're less likely to react to somebody disclosing what their story is.
I see.
Owning it as their own story, and you know what's coming next.
Right. So actually, let me just
But
wait, hold on real quick. So in the book, there's actually an agreement that we actually agree to, not only a pause agreement, but we come up with common vernacular so that when you say it's my story, I go, okay, I don't react because I've already gone through this system, so I know.
Yeah.
There's
a number of exercises where we pick out from a list. These are the typical stories that play in my mind.
Right.
Typical stories that play in your mind, and we disclose those to each other. And we go through another exercise where we look at core needs that weren't met in childhood.
I see.
So I stop blaming you for my reactivity because we've already gone through. See, it takes some, there's some different exercises where you fill in different blanks before you get ready to do this with each other.
Okay. So there's prep work that happened before you're having this conversation with me.
You wouldn't, you would already be calm and you would already kind of know what she's going to say, what her typical reactive story is.
Okay.
I mean, it could happen if somebody starts reacting in the middle of, I do support you, then we would just pause again. We'd say, well, I guess we're not ready to do the repair yet, are we, darling? Pause again. Go calm ourselves down, because if you say that to me, then I can't continue to calmly go through this repair process.
Right.
Because I'm going to be triggered too. One thing to teach couples is it's not you're triggered. because as soon as you're triggered and I start pointing the finger at you, I'm triggered too.
Yes,
It's like we're
absolutely.
really wired up together when we depend on each other.
Yes. Okay.
So we get all of the prep work for doing this repair statement. We get very humble and self-reflective about what's underneath all this trigger.
Okay. Can you start over? So I actually
Well,
had, I went and I kind of like violated the rules we set up. I'm like, "Ah, ah, ah," I came into my
well,
story. And so the next day we come back and you tell me the story again.
so I'd like to repair what happened when I said that you were not supporting me and you're always, you're a bad role model. I'd like to repair that. I see now that when I said those words, I was triggered. When I saw you sitting there on the computer, a story came up in my mind that my needs aren't important to him. I reacted by yelling at you and accusing you of being a bad role model. But deep down inside, I felt hurt. And that's a core feeling. See, and if it's core feelings are the more vulnerable things.
Mm,
Underneath anger and disappointment and those kind of feelings, I mean, those are valid feelings too, but
hmm.
we teach people that underneath those harder, sharper feelings, there's softer feelings like hurt, fear,
Right.
that
Those are
kind
the vulnerable
of
feelings.
sadness, grief, pain. And so I reacted. I reacted by raising my voice, but deep down inside, I felt hurt. A fear came up in me that my needs don't matter, that I'm kind of alone here. And as you know, that's a fear that has been with me all my life. Oh, so you're
Mm-hmm.
you're really reminding it
Mm,
reminded me of all the times that my mom listened to my brothers and never really paid attention to me.
mm,
They got everything they wanted and I didn't. And so
mm,
it brought all that back.
mm.
So, what I need more than anything is to just feel that my needs do matter. So, I want to apologize for those hurtful things that I said. And if I had it to do over, and this is the key part right here, and later on,
Mm,
sometimes you can just boil it down to this. I apologize for reacting, would like to take it back. If I could do it over again, I would have told you that I was feeling hurt and I would have asked for reassurance that my needs matter to you and that I'm important to you.
mm,
Because it really boils down
mm-hmm.
to her taking it personally that they have this difference,
Mm-hmm.
kids.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're going to have a lot of differences,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but I'm admitting that I took it personally. I'm showing where it came from. And I'm saying if I had it to do over, I just would have asked for, I would have walked in and seen you at the computer
Yeah.
and I would have come over and leaned against you and said, honey, I'm getting triggered now. I'm feeling
Mm,
hurt about the fact that in my mind there was some conversation we had where I asked you not to do computers, and I'm making that about me right now. I'm making that mean that you don't care about my needs, and
right.
I just need some reassurance that
Right.
I do matter to you,
Right.
that my needs and our family, in this case our family, is important to you.
Yeah. And it's funny because I'm listening to it as if I'm the husband hearing it, and it gets me back into a heart-based place. So when
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing you, I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it's. I'm feeling like I wanted.
Do that.
I'm moving towards you to try to
Yeah.
come up with the solution, which is very different than the place that we were in before, where
Yeah.
we were all triggered. And and it's interesting because in your book, the 5 minute relationship repair, you talk about, part of it is you're coming from a softer voice,
Mm-hmm.
you're gauging and giving me eye contact. So it's
Right.
making me feel more connected to you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before I may be pointing or yelling or turning my back,
And that's looking at each other.
yes.
And in the book we quote research on what helps children grow up healthy and secure, and
Hmm.
the things that parents do that create secure bonding is touch, like loving touch,
Mm-hmm.
soothing voice tones, and friendly eye contact.
Right.
And so when you, during your repair, if you can, give a loving touch or soothing voice tones, that kind of thing, you're actually helping to rewire your partner's nervous system to feel, oh, I'm safe in the world.
Yeah.
You're like mommy and child all over again.
Yeah, like if I said to my son, like, honey, we agreed that you're only going to spend, 30 minutes on the computer today, and I'm noticing that it's over that time limit.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do? Or so, but it's kind of, instead of like, you're on that PC again? Come on. Didn't we
Yeah.
talk about this? It's like,
Well, I would try to. I like to ask you to stay on your own side of the net. So
yeah.
you would say, when I see you sitting there and it seems like it's been longer than 30 minutes, I start to get agitated. I
Hmm.
need some help calming down here.
Ah,
I I I I want to feel like my needs matter to you, and I'm starting to take it personally that you're going overtime.
ah.
No,
Nice. Yeah. So that's what you mean by
no,
staying on your set. You're
yeah,
owning this thing. You're never pointing. It's like
hmm
I'm owning and be responsible for
hmm
what I'm feeling, which is
hmm
a sense of agitation, feeling
yeah,
taking it personally, and
hmm
saying I just need your help right now.
right. If you even if you say in a calm, soothing tone of voice, you are violating our agreement, darling.
Yes.
That's a huge statement that's on their side of the net, telling them what they're doing. It's just it's less deep. It's less deeply.
Right. Right.
No,
And it's not owning what you're bringing to the whole equation, right? I
they
mean,
can't really feel you. When
right.
your partner can feel your heart, they kind of want to give you what you need.
Right.
And if
Right.
you can tell them what you do need, like, boy, I could you sure use a hug right now, and
Right.
some sense from you that my needs matter.
Yeah.
And he'll go, oh, honey,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, yeah. That wasn't my intention. Okay, and then so the script is I got triggered when a story came up in my mind that I reacted by, but deep inside, that's where you have your vulnerable feeling. A fear came up in me that blank, and what I need more than anything was to feel blank. And the apology, I'm sorry, and if I could do it all over again, I would have done blank.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's say that now we're in role reversal because there's a script that the other person receiving it would say as well, right? It's what I heard you say was that you felt blank and that you need reassurance that your core need was me blank.
Mhm.
Did I get everything you said? Is there anything else you want to correct or add? But let's actually pretend I was beautifully I was smart and could come up with the same thing and delivered
Yeah.
it to you. Now, can you
Yeah.
be the husband and receive? What would it look like if the person was then receiving this information?
Well, we'd have to hear what the person said. So why don't I just say what I would say back to what I said?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah,
your
exactly.
audience heard what I said.
Right.
So let me see if I got what you said. You said that when you walked in and saw me at the computer, you started thinking that your needs. Let's see. Oh no, you came up. Let's see how'd it go? Because
Yeah, you started off by saying,
you should pause and repeat back this stuff. Little bits at a time.
yeah, not the whole story. Yeah, so it's
So I'm trying to remember what
yeah,
I
I'll
said
tell you. I remember what you
quite a
said. You
while
said
ago.
you said I got triggered when I saw you on the computer. That's I think you said when I saw you on the computer, I got triggered.
hmm So you told me when you saw me on the computer, you got triggered, and a story came up in your mind that your needs don't matter,
Hmm.
and you're really sorry that you said I was a bad role model,
Hmm.
and you'd like to take it back. And if you had it to do over again, you would have told me that you were hurt and that it reminded you of times when your mom paid attention to your brothers and not you. And if you had it to do over again, you would tell me that you were triggered and hurt and that you needed reassurance that your needs matter.
Hmm.
I get that.
Yes. Yeah.
So I
Well.
got to tell you, your needs matter to me more than anything.
Mm,
And now I'd like to tell you what happened from my side. Can I have a turn to tell you what happened from my side?
yeah.
What my trigger was and what I wished I had said.
Mm-hmm.
And see, then once I've listened to you, then it's my turn to go through this repair statement also.
Ah, okay, got it. So this
Both
presumes
people,
that both of us are
like
doing
one
work.
person apologizes because now
Uh,
I apologize for shooting back at you that you don't appreciate what I do for this family and so forth.
okay, can you make up a, let's hear the guy side of the story. Can you make up a guy version of the script? I got triggered when you came in and called me
Okay.
yeah. So you're a guy now, and now I'm saying, now what I want to hear your side of what happened, and so now you're the guy.
Okay. So I'm sorry. I want to repair what happened when you came in and said I was a bad role model. I when I heard you say that, I got triggered. A story came up in my mind. Let me make sure I do the script right.
Yeah.
Um, I see now that when I said you never appreciate what I do for this family, I was triggered. When I heard you say the thing about being a bad role model, a story came up in my mind that I can't please you, that I'm a bad partner, and kind of like that you don't accept me. And I can see that that's related to how in my family I was ignored a lot,
Hmm.
and it just seemed like I couldn't. Oh, let me change that
Yeah.
because that's probably not the best thing because
Yeah.
he's got this highly he's triggered by this highly critical thing. So
Right.
story I remembered all the times my mom used to criticize me for not doing my chores,
Mm.
or when my dad would try to show me something and then I wouldn't do it right and he'd tell me I was doing it wrong. I just got the feeling that I wasn't accepted as good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I've carried this fear that I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And when I hear that, fear comes up in me that I'm not good enough for you.
Mm. Oh.
Now I reacted by accusing you of not appreciating me and that I can't do anything right with you. But deep down inside, I, I felt a sadness.
Yeah.
The fear came up in me that there's like I'm just not good enough for you and you don't accept me.
Mm-hmm.
What I need more than anything is to feel like I am good enough.
Mm.
I apologize for yelling back at you, and if I had it to do over, I would have told you that I was sad and I would have asked for reassurance
Yeah.
that I am good enough for you, that you accept me.
Oh my God! It really does tug at your heartstrings. So I would listen back and say, I mean, in some ways, I mean, if my husband were to say that to me, I'd just give him a big hug, because it
Yeah.
just is it's a connecting moment. I'm trying to figure out an authentic way. If someone did say that to me, I would want to reach towards them and give them a hug, like, oh, I'm sorry, that's the last thing I would want to
Yeah.
have happen, right? But then what I'm hearing you say is what I heard you say was that, when I went and accused you of not being a good role model, and then didn't appreciate you and all the great things that you do for our family, that you had that that it gave you a sense that I didn't accept you and that you weren't good enough, and that's actually something that you've experienced a lot, both with your mom and your dad, either feeling that you were good at that what you were doing was not right, or being criticized, of which I did both, frankly, during our argument, and you feel really sad. And I think I would actually say I'm sorry that that happened for you. I mean, if it were me and my husband said that, I'd say, "Gosh, I'm so sorry that that happened. Did I get everything that you said? And is there anything else you want to correct or add?"
No, I would say you got everything.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's what's interesting about
How about my reassurance?
yeah. Is that the last piece I'm going to
Yeah,
say?
yeah. And then you say, "Did I get everything?" and now I want to reassure you that
Okay.
you
Oh,
are enough. You are good enough.
oh, okay. I didn't see that part in the book. I'm sorry. And and I want to
I
reassure.
was triggered, but
Yeah, I'm.
still good enough.
Yeah, I want to reassure you that you're a great dad, a great husband, that I love you,
Yeah.
that you are good enough. You're more than good enough, and that I'm so happy that we're married. You know, whatever it is that.
You're great at this, CJ.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, I think I want to let our audience know that there is some pre-work in how to get vulnerable together,
Yeah.
how to talk about your childhoods, and there's some little
Yeah.
quizzes where we look at what needs were met and were not met in
Yeah.
childhood. We develop the language of core fears, core fears like not being good enough, fear that I don't matter,
Right.
those fears. And we begin to get so that we can use that language, that more
Yeah.
vulnerable language. We don't expect people to just read a book and then whip out the repair statement.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There
There's
are
a.
some prep work
I would
that
as I
CJ and I have already done.
Yeah, yeah. No, I feel like well, I've done my a lot of my own personal work, but what I notice in your book, the 5 minute repair, relationship repair, is that I think there's about 3 chapters in just looking at your stuff. Like, what
Yeah.
is your stuff? What are you bringing into the
Mm-hmm.
relationship, and that you're probably unknowingly imposing on the other person, and get clear with your stuff because we've done our stuff, right? We're
That's right. We're owning our stuff. We're not
yeah, you
blaming
you
it. We're
recognize
not
that you're
putting
not good
on
enough, you know. Yeah, you had done the
blaming
pre-work.
is like the old paradigm. We don't
Yes.
support that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a beautiful piece of work. And so this is something that um you call it 5 minutes because does it really take 5 minutes?
It can take less than 5 minutes once you develop the language, the
Right.
ability to speak about core fears and core needs.
Right.
And and once you develop that language, like I'm triggered, I'm hurt, I need reassurance. Sometimes you can do the repair in 30 seconds.
Right. Yeah,
And
that's true.
sometimes you learn how to uh, give the soothing voice tones, the eye contact, and the loving touch when your partner's triggered, and they stop being triggered right on the spot. So
Ah.
there's like the 2 second repair,
Right.
you know,
Right. Yeah.
pat, just a pat on the shoulder or
Yeah.
a hug.
Yeah, like or you could just, the person saying like, honey, I'm triggered, and you could just be, like you were saying, giving him a hug or giving him a stroke, and it's like, I understand.
Yeah. As soon as I can admit that I'm triggered, see, we have to get over the shame that
Yeah.
there's something wrong with you if you're triggered.
Yeah.
And that's why studying the human nervous system and how all this happens to everyone, just because we're wired up that way
Yeah.
to scan for danger.
Yeah. So this is something that you can use, like you said, with your a loved family member, with you're at, a challenging place that you may have with your own mom or dad. I mean, this is the repair 5 minute repair. Even though I actually think even though let's say in the case that I'm talking to my mom or my dad and I'm having a triggered moment,
Mm-hmm.
even though they may not have gone through this
Right.
experience, probably just receiving that message in the way that you delivered it would be enough. Even if the person hasn't gone through. I mean, I think
Right.
as a couple you want to go through this, but
Mm-hmm.
don't you think that even if the person didn't go through this
Yeah.
process?
Yes. You can say, I, I'd like to revise or repair what I said to you earlier today.
Yeah.
If I had it to do over, and you can just do the short version with
Yeah.
your mom or with someone who's
Yeah.
never read.
Yeah, I don't think you want to go into it. It's because when I was little.
Because 45 years ago, you used to criticize me and you're still doing it. No, I'm not going to do that.
Exactly.
We learn to be
Thank you so much. We have Dr.
self-reflective by doing these.
Exactly.
Less blaming.
Thank you so much for being on the show. We have Dr. Susan Campbell, author of The 5 Minute Relationship Repair: How to Quickly Heal Upsets, Deepen Intimacy, and Use Differences to Strengthen Love. And I really can see that happening. It's a felt experience where when that person is really vulnerable, it builds this kind of connective tissue that you may not have had even before that fight, right?
It's why it really does deepen your intimacy.
Yes.
Deepens your feeling of, I really know this person. This person's really letting me in.
Yes,
Mm.
yes, excellent. So thank you so much, listeners, for listening. You can find us on you can find this video as you found us on the YouTube channel and the Fired Up with CJ YouTube channel. We also have a Facebook page and then also a website, www.firedupwithcj.com. Susan, tell us about your website and information people want, because you said you can download some of these worksheets, right?
Yeah, about a 20-page free workbook that you
Okay.
can go to our website, 5minuterelationship.repair.com.
Uh-huh.
So the book title.com.
Is it
It's
Five-E?
FIVE.
Okay.
Yeah, the word five, just
Okay.
like it's written on the cover there.
Yep.
And click on the home page, download the workbook, and that gives and you can print out numerous repair sheets because you're going to need more than one.
Yes.
You know? And you'll have it. You'll have it to fill out during your pause period.
Yeah, and then do you in that booklet does it include some kind of structures for the agreements and things like that, or is that in this book
Yeah, all
only?
the handouts. The book itself is like a self-guided workbook for
Yeah,
couples,
yeah.
but there's a lot of narrative and instructions. The workbook just has the handouts. Has
Ah,
all the handouts, all the exercises in the book, so you can use that rather than writing in your book.
yeah. When I read through this, I thought, seriously, this is like 6 months of counseling, like distilled into
Oh
a
yeah,
book.
yeah.
Right? Don't you? I mean, if you can afford to see a counselor and you really need one, great. But if you can kind of have the patience and the energy to go through this book, I
Hmm.
think you could solve a lot of your problems without even having to see a counselor. Is that
I think
an
so. I
outrageous
think so.
statement?
If you hit a few bumps, you could have just one session. You know, bring that book to your counselor and say,
Right.
I just need we need a third party to kind of guide us through
Yeah.
this process.
Yeah.
A lot of couples counselors will be using this book now.
Yeah. Yeah. Because otherwise, I think this is normally like a 3 to 6 month process. If I were to go see a counselor every week,
Yeah,
we'd meet, we talk about his issue, talk about my issue, we talk
right.
together. It's like
This
costly.
this focuses you right where you.
Exactly. These are the critical elements, people.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time and for putting this beautiful piece of work and to offer it's so generous for you to offer all these workbooks and things on your website too. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on your show.
Okay, then I'll stop. So that was great.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, I think it was very lively, and I like your style.
Yeah, I think it will
Yeah, we're
be
gonna do
good.
another one, I guess, right? In
Well, I think
July
I'm
or
gonna actually. I don't know. Do we have? I think no. This is going to be replaying in July.
oh, it's replaying in
Yes,
July.
I'm going to take this and then yeah. But I think it's really good because I think these are the kind of hard. I mean, what I liked about this issue is this is a very typical argument that people would have, and they don't know. I mean, they could literally just repeat the script that we gave.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you picked that one about parenting because we see that no matter what the fight's about, it's about taking your differences personally.
Yeah, yeah. And if you
I
want,
gotta
I'm
pee, so I'm gonna go.
okay. All right. Thank you.
Holding it there at the end, I was getting a little fidgety.
Okay. Oh God, I'm sorry. Okay. Bye. Thank you so
Hey,
much.
thanks a lot.
Take care. Bye. Thank you.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show and love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.